The look on her face when she stepped into that parking lot and saw the empty space where her car used to be. I wish I could bottle it, frame it, rewind, and relive it. She spun in a full circle like someone who'd lost her child at a carnival. Checked her phone, tapped her pockets, looked back toward the motel room door, hesitating. He was still in there. I watched from across the street. Inside my parked car, engine off, lights off, parked behind a dumpster that reeked of hot grease and wet cigarettes. It didn't matter. I wasn't moving until she broke. And oh, she was close. She dialed someone. I watched her lips form my name. Me. She was calling me. The man she'd kissed goodbye 5 hours earlier with a lie wrapped in her lip gloss. Client meeting. I won't be long. Yeah? Then why'd she rent room 204 under her maiden name? Why'd she use cash? Why'd she think I wouldn't find the receipt wedged under the front seat like a guilty leaf? She paced, talked, cursed, tried not to look panicked. Tried to keep her balance in those ridiculous nude heels that clicked like a metronome of betrayal. I saw her wipe her eyes, maybe from the cold, maybe from fear, maybe from guilt. Or maybe she finally realized I wasn't as dumb as she always assumed. And still, I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I remembered the message. The one she forgot to delete from her smartwatch the week before. A man's name I didn't recognize. A time. An address. And the words. Wear that yellow dress. I want to tear it off. So no, I didn't feel bad. Not one bit. She eventually gave up, climbed into a rideshare, and headed home. That was my cue. I beat her there by 20 minutes, which was just enough time to change everything, including what she saw when she walked through the front door. But we're not there yet. Let's rewind 48 hours. Back to when I thought my marriage was still real. Back to the beginning of the end. There was something wrong with the way the garage door opened. You know that feeling when something small is just off? Not broken, just unfamiliar. The sound it made was a little too smooth, like someone had oiled the track, which I hadn't. Ever. I stepped into the house and froze. The entryway smelled like cologne. Not mine. Spicy. Expensive. Something I've never worn in my life. It hit me like a memory I didn't have, like walking into the wrong apartment. Then I heard music. Not loud. Just barely audible from upstairs. A jazz playlist she hated. And that's when it hit me. She'd rehearsed this. The timing. The car. The music. She wasn't supposed to come home and find me already there. She was supposed to walk in, make a phone call, pretend to be checking in, and I'd be asleep or on my shift or out walking Baxter. But now, the air cracked with something unspoken. I crept upstairs. Every step felt like walking into traffic. The bedroom door was half open. Light spilled through the crack. Not the warm yellow glow of our bedside lamp. No, this was whiter, harsher, like it came from a ring light or a bathroom mirror. I pushed the door gently, and I swear to you, my heart actually stopped for a second, because there was a man's coat on the chair. A long, tan coat. Not mine. Not any of our friends. Definitely not hers. And on the dresser? A watch. Sleek. Black leather band. It looked expensive enough to buy a used car. She didn't even hear me come in. She was in the bathroom humming, door open, straightening her hair like she was getting ready for a second round. Her makeup bag was open on the counter. She wore the yellow dress, that yellow dress. The one he told her to wear. I recognized it from the photo she thought she deleted. But I couldn't move. Couldn't even breathe right. I just stood there in our room, surrounded by her perfume and someone else's things. Eventually, she turned. Maybe she caught my reflection in the mirror. Maybe she just sensed it. But when she saw me, standing next to the coat, the watch, the pile of lies she never meant for me to see, her whole body locked up. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She just whispered my name like it was a sin she hadn't planned on confessing yet. Duncan. I didn't say anything. I picked up the coat, turned it over in my hands like it might still have a name tag. Then I looked at her and asked the stupidest question imaginable. Did you sleep with him in our bed? Her lip trembled. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I was going to change the sheets. Like that was the part that mattered. And still, I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there with the weight of a decade of trust crumbling on my shoulders and realized something horrifying. I wasn't even surprised. Not really. Because somewhere deep down, I had known. The moment she stopped laughing at my jokes. The moment she started setting her alarm for 5:15 a.m. but never got up. The moment she started replying to my texts with just emojis. This had been rotting for a long time. I just hadn't wanted to smell it. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. That's when she really started to panic. Because I didn't explode, I left. Quietly. Dignified. No door slam. No insult. Just silence. And that terrified her more than anything. Because she didn't know what I would do next. But I did. And it started with her car. You'd think once I walked away from the bedroom, away from her shaky little excuses and her borrowed cologne lies, I'd feel better. I didn't. I felt like a balloon someone let go of too fast. Spinning in place, directionless, full of noise and collapse. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I just sat in the garage for hours with the car door open and the dome light off, going over everything I'd seen. That watch. That coat. That look she gave me. The one that wasn't surprise, but fear. Not fear of hurting me. Fear of getting caught. By morning, I made a decision I'm still not sure was rational. I needed to see him. Not punch him. Not confront him. I just wanted to look at the guy who got her to betray everything we built. Maybe I wanted to hate him. Maybe I wanted to see what I was lacking. I don't know. I just needed to know. So I went back to the motel. I waited. That whole day, I stayed parked across the street. Ate vending machine crackers. Watched the staff go about their routines. I was invisible in my car. I was nothing. Then around 5:40 p.m. she showed up. Same yellow dress. Fresh makeup. Fake confidence. And him. He drove an obnoxiously shiny Lincoln. Expensive, but not elegant. The kind of guy who wants you to see his money. He was maybe 40. Tall. Clean-shaven. Tight gray dress shirt tucked into designer jeans. She smiled when she saw him. This open, glowing smile I hadn't seen in years. She touched his arm. Laughed like a teenager. They checked in. Room 204 again. I waited 20 minutes. Then I moved. I didn't knock. I didn't yell. I walked straight into the lobby and said, "Hi. My brother's in room 204 and forgot his charger. Mind if I drop it off?" The woman behind the counter barely looked up from her phone. "Go ahead," she muttered. The door was unlocked. Why would they lock it? It's not like they expected the husband to come calling. The room was dim. Curtains pulled. The TV was on. Something loud. A baseball game. Probably to cover the noise. I saw her phone first. On the dresser. Vibrating with a message that said, "You lie so easily it's scary, LOL." I didn't recognize the number. Then I saw the bed. And what was on it? Not them. They were in the bathroom. But it was the contents that stopped me cold. On the bed lay a small, folded stack of cash. Neat. Crisp bills. A card beside it, the kind you get at a hotel bar, embossed gold font, minimalistic, no name. Underneath it, a folded piece of paper. I only needed one look to see what it was. A non-disclosure agreement. Initialed. Signed. Her signature. His signature. My brain stalled. I knew what I was looking at, but I couldn't understand what it meant. This wasn't an affair. This was a transaction. I backed out of the room slowly, like someone who just wandered into a crime scene. My hands were ice. My knees barely worked. I made it back to my car and dry heaved into an empty coffee cup. She wasn't cheating because she fell in love. She was cheating because she was being paid. And the worst part? This wasn't the first time. Because underneath the NDA was a list. Timestamps. Locations. Names blurred but partially visible. And the initials MLC at the top. I don't know what that means yet. But I will. And whatever it is, I have a feeling it goes deeper than just her. I didn't go home that night. I drove aimlessly for hours, windows down, cold air tearing through my thoughts. At one point, I pulled over outside an all-night diner and just sat there, watching tired people sip bad coffee through the glass. I envied them, their ignorance, their peace. The image of that NDA kept flashing behind my eyes like a broken neon sign. Why would Marlene need a non-disclosure agreement? Who was protecting who? By the time I made it back to the house, it was nearly 6 a.m. The sky was a bruised gray, and frost clung to the windshield like spiderwebs. I parked 2 blocks away and walked in through the back door like a burglar in my own life. She was asleep on the couch, blanket pulled up to her chin, face calm, peaceful even. I stood there for what felt like a year. She looked like the woman I married. But now I knew there were entire parts of her I'd never seen. Secret hallways in her life I wasn't allowed to walk. I didn't wake her. I went straight to the office and opened the locked filing cabinet she thought I never used. She was wrong. The folder was where I remembered. Taxes 2021. I'd seen her stuff a few things inside months ago, claiming it was receipts for business write-offs. But when I pulled the folder out, it was light. Too light. Inside were three things. A burner phone, a manila envelope with unmarked credit card statements, a sealed letter with my name on it. I stared at that letter for a long time. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Typed. No greeting. No signature. Just one sentence. If you're reading this, you were never supposed to be part of it. That's it. That's all it said. I don't know what scared me more, what the hell it was, or the implication that this thing, whatever it was, had boundaries, and I wasn't meant to cross them. I checked the burner phone next. It wasn't locked. There were no messages, no contacts, nothing in the gallery. But the call log told a different story. Dozens of outgoing calls to a number saved only as L. Some lasted 5 seconds, some over 10 minutes. But they were regular, timed, like check-ins or instructions. I wrote the number down and put everything back exactly where I found it. When she woke up an hour later, she acted like nothing was wrong. Made herself tea, played with the dog, asked if I wanted pancakes. Her voice didn't crack. Her hands didn't shake. Either she was the best liar alive, or this performance, was part of her job now. I told her I had errands. She smiled and told me to drive safe. I went to my friend Owen instead. He works IT at a credit union. Quiet guy, privacy obsessed. He owed me a favor from years back when I helped him out of a situation involving an ex and a locksmith. Owen took one look at the credit card numbers and nodded. These aren't in your name or hers, he said. Third party. Offshore routing. Someone's paying her through blind channels. I asked him to look up the phone number too. He ran it through a tool that scraped encrypted databases and burner registries. When the result came back, he froze. What? I asked. He leaned back, frowning. That number is on a watch list. My throat tightened. What kind of watch list? Owen swallowed hard. Federal. I stared at him, trying to make sense of it. Like FBI? Higher, he said. It's flagged in a DHS procurement database, linked to shell companies with ties to escort laundering and identity rotation. And then he leaned in, like he was afraid someone might be listening, even in his own apartment. Duncan, whatever she's involved in, it's not just cheating. It's organized. My ears rang. I felt the floor fall away, because suddenly, it wasn't about me anymore. And the worst part? I still loved her, which meant I had one of two choices. Leave quietly and pretend I never saw behind the curtain, or dig deeper and risk whatever she was trying to protect me from. You already know what I chose. And it led me straight to the man who left his coat on our chair. The first time I saw the man up close, he was laughing. Not some charming, carefree chuckle. No, it was that smug, shoulder-shaking laugh of a man who believed he owned the room, the street, and maybe even the city. He stepped out of his Lincoln like it was a throne on wheels. Aviator shades, tailored coat, watch glinting like a lighthouse beam. He carried himself like someone who'd never been told no in his life. I would have walked straight up to him right then and there if it weren't for one thing. Someone else got to him first. It happened on a Tuesday. I'd been tracking the Lincoln's parking pattern and noticed it always showed up near the same cafe between 10 and 11 a.m. That morning, I parked a block over and waited behind tinted windows, sipping cheap gas station coffee and trying not to sweat through my jacket. At 10:47, he arrived, parked diagonally, got out like he was being filmed. But before he reached the door of the cafe, a man stepped into his path. This guy wasn't flashy. Baseball cap, windbreaker, slight limp. Mid-40s maybe. Angry energy radiating off him like heat. I couldn't hear what they said, but I didn't need to. The windbreaker guy jabbed a finger into the Lincoln man's chest. Lincoln man smirked, brushed it off, and said something that made Windbreaker flinch, like he'd been slapped without a hand. Then Windbreaker shoved him. Hard. Lincoln stumbled back into his car door, caught himself, and said something low and fast. That's when Windbreaker froze. He looked afraid. Not like a guy scared of a fight, but like a man who just realized he stepped on a landmine. Then he turned and walked off. Not ran. Walked. Like he'd already accepted something terrible. Lincoln straightened his coat and walked into the cafe without a second glance. I followed Windbreaker. Got out. Crossed the street like a jogger catching breath. Called out, "Hey, you know that guy?" He didn't stop. But he said, "Turn around, man. You don't want any part of this." I caught up. Wait. Did he do something to someone you know? That made him stop. He turned, looked at me under the brim of his cap. Tired eyes. Deep lines. The face of a man who's had to keep secrets he didn't ask for. I'm guessing your wife, too? He asked. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. He nodded. Mine's been gone 2 months. I found pictures. Receipts. Same guy. She left a note on the fridge and vanished. Cops won't touch it. Said she's an adult and free to leave. I felt sick. I just need his name, I said. And what you know. He looked me up and down like he was checking for something. Strength, maybe. Or desperation. I'll tell you. But not here. We met that night at a bowling alley bar off the interstate. Neutral ground. Loud enough for cover, quiet enough to talk. His name was Kent. He used to be a county water inspector. Said he started noticing things about his wife a year ago. New clothes, odd hours, sudden transfers of money to an account she refused to explain. I thought maybe she was gambling, he said. Or on drugs. I even took her to a damn counselor. Then he found the second phone. Calls. Appointments. Hotels. All linked to one name. Guy goes by James Lambert, Kent said. But that's not real. He's used at least 5 aliases that I could dig up. Different states. Always the same routine. Targeted women. Lonely ones. Burned out ones. High functioning, low emotion. You know the type. I didn't, but I nodded anyway. He recruits them, trains them, then moves them. I blinked. Moves them. Kent leaned in. It's not just affairs, Duncan. It's a whole network. High level, gray market stuff. Escorts, yes, but elite. NDA-backed, screened, rotated quarterly. They call it discretion work. My stomach flipped. Marlene's in this. He sighed. If she signed the NDA, yes. I didn't want to believe it. Not because it sounded impossible, but because it finally made everything make sense. Kent slid an envelope across the table. Take this. It's everything I've got. Addresses. Names. Patterns. But be careful. The last guy who looked too close, he went missing. I tried to laugh. I couldn't. That night, I drove home in silence. Didn't play music. Didn't call anyone. Just held the envelope in my lap like it might bite. I didn't open it until the next morning. Inside were photos of Marlene, smiling, standing beside James Lambert, in a different city, under a different name, and wearing a ring that wasn't mine. I used to think betrayal came with noise. A slam, a scream, a shattered glass. Maybe that's what movies taught me. Rage exploding, lies unraveling in seconds. But this was quiet, cold, like slipping into a bath that was supposed to be warm but isn't. No shock. Just the slow realization you've been left in something that no longer wants you. The morning after I found the NDA and burner phone, I didn't sleep. I just sat at the kitchen table with a cup of instant coffee that went cold an hour in, staring at the envelope she'd labeled client gifts. Inside, multiple prepaid cards. Untraceable. Each with different balances. Each with numbers I'd never seen her use. There was a pattern. Her lies had structure. Rules. Like she wasn't improvising this. It was a routine. I spent most of that day doing what I now consider both pathetic and necessary, building a timeline. Using every receipt, calendar note, scent, and silence I could remember. The yellow dress had appeared twice. Once in early August for networking drinks, and again 2 weeks later for a sister's night out that I now know never happened. The matching nail color? Repeated. The same Uber drop-off location near Eastbridge Plaza? Traced. The restaurant reservations on OpenTable she claimed were for clients? Not once confirmed. I was living in someone else's screenplay, and I wasn't even a supporting character. I was just background noise. At 3:12 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. No name. No greeting. Just, if you're looking for answers, meet me behind the self-storage unit on Willow. 4 p.m. sharp. Come alone. For 2 minutes, I stared at it thinking it was a prank. Then I remembered something Marlene once said, offhand, late at night, wine tipsy and half asleep. She mumbled, people never meet for real things in coffee shops. Too many eyes. Real things happen behind strip malls. At 4:02, I was parked behind the storage facility. Low sunlight cutting across the lot, dust dancing in beams. I kept one hand on my phone, the other inside my jacket, just in case. I don't own a gun, but I hoped whoever sent the message didn't know that. A man appeared from behind a blue unit door. Thin, gaunt, balding, hoodie zipped up halfway. He looked like someone who hadn't been touched by sunlight or trust in a long time. You're Duncan? He asked. I nodded. He didn't offer a name. Just said, I was married to one of them. One of who? He didn't answer, just handed me a folder, then said the words that burned into my spine like acid. Your wife wasn't cheating. She was recruited. That was the first time I heard the term handler used in my marriage. He explained, flat, emotionless, that this wasn't prostitution. It wasn't an escort agency. It was something called layered outreach, which sounded like corporate garbage until he broke it down. Rich, powerful men needed women they could trust with secrets. Women who wouldn't ask questions, who could disappear on command, blend into events, switch identities, sign papers, smile for photos, and sometimes, yes, sleep with people for leverage. Marlene, he said, fit the profile. Smart, unattached, controlled, beautiful without drawing attention, and most importantly, burned out. The kind of woman who felt invisible in her own life. Perfect clay for sculpting something useful. Your wife was trained, he said. And once they train you, they own pieces of you. I asked him if Marlene was in danger. He gave me a long, pitying look. She already is danger. I wanted to argue. To say she was still the woman who sang off-key while cooking eggs. Who once stayed up all night to take care of my dog after surgery. Who held my face when I told her I couldn't have children and said, then it'll just be us against the world. But that woman didn't keep burner phones. That woman didn't vanish into motels. That woman didn't sign NDAs next to untraceable money. I opened the folder. It had a printed list, 9 names. Women, most with aliases, dates, relocation markers. Next to Marlene's entry, someone had written in pen. In play, handler, JL, priority, medium high. JL, James Lambert. I'd finally found a thread. Now I just had to pull it. And that's where I made my first real mistake. Because I tried to warn her. I went home that night with every intention of confronting her calmly, explaining what I'd learned, telling her I still wanted to help her get out. But when I stepped into the house, quiet, dark, cold, I noticed something was wrong. The back door was ajar. One window cracked open, which we never do in October. The lights were off. Baxter didn't come running. The living room smelled like dirt. Or maybe rubber. I couldn't place it. Then I saw the muddy footprints. Not hers. Too large. Leading from the kitchen to the bedroom. I called out her name. No answer. Then I saw the note taped to the fridge. It wasn't from her. If you want her safe, stop digging. Final warning. I turned around. Heard a noise behind the hallway wall. And for the first time since all this began, I realized I wasn't alone. I didn't breathe for 20 seconds. Not until I stepped back, reached for the drawer beside the fridge, and pulled out the only thing I had that resembled a weapon, a dull camping hatchet. Still had the tag on it. I'd bought it months ago at a hardware store during one of those we should go hiking sometime conversations that never really go anywhere. Now it felt absurd in my hand, but I gripped it anyway. The hallway was too quiet. No creaks. No wind. Just that kind of silence that makes your ears ring and your thoughts shout. I took one step forward, and the air shifted. I couldn't explain it. You know when someone enters a room just before you do, and the warmth lingers? That pressure? That's what I felt. Like someone had just moved from here. Fast. Controlled. The muddy footprints led toward our bedroom, but the floor near the study had a fresh scuff. One I didn't remember. I followed it. Slow. Every part of me alert like I was made of antennas. And then I heard it. Not a voice. Not footsteps. Breathing. Not my own. Low. Shallow. Careful. Someone was hiding. And doing a poor job of it. The closet. Of course. I raised the hatchet and yanked the door open like a madman. Empty. But not completely. Inside was a black bag, military-looking, unzipped just enough to show wires. I jumped back like it was going to explode, heart jackhammering, mouth dry. But nothing happened. I got down, peeled it open carefully. Inside were 3 things. A voice recorder, a disposable phone, and a photo of me. Recent. Taken from across the street. I recognized the background. It was our mailbox, and I was bent over it, grabbing the weekly coupons I never read. The back of the photo had one sentence written in block letters. You already know too much. My knees buckled. I sat on the floor like someone had unplugged me. Someone had been inside this house before. More than once. Not just watching. Tracking. Listening. The phone had no SIM card. Only one number in the call log. Anonymous. Last called 16 minutes ago. The voice recorder had one file on it. Timestamped the previous night. I pressed play. It was her. Marlene. Crying. I told you I wanted out, her voice said, shaking. You said you'd let me go if I closed the Eastbridge file. I did what you asked. I delivered everything. I want my real life back. I want Duncan safe. He doesn't know anything. He's not involved. Then another voice. Male. Calm. Flat. If he stays uninvolved, he stays alive. Silence. Then footsteps. Click. End of recording. I dropped it. My fingers wouldn't close properly anymore. This wasn't just betrayal. It wasn't even about infidelity anymore. Marlene had tried to leave, and someone told her she couldn't. She was protecting me, and I'd spent the last 3 weeks trying to expose her. I grabbed the bag, the recorder, the phone, the photo, and ran. I didn't even lock the house. I just drove, not knowing where. Ended up in a Walmart parking lot 20 miles out of town, surrounded by sleeping semis and burnt-out streetlights. I called Owen, my tech friend. Told him everything. Fast, frantic. He didn't hesitate. I'll trace the audio metadata, he said. Send me a picture of the phone and bag. But Duncan, you need to understand something. What? This is way above small time. This kind of gear? This setup? It's used for 2 things, surveillance training and soft blackmail. I didn't speak. You said someone told her to deliver a file? Yeah. Then she was collecting on someone. She was the closer. She got close to targets, pulled secrets, and handed them over. I thought she was just, I couldn't finish it. No, man. She wasn't just a mistress. She was a pressure valve, one they used to make people bend. My throat felt like it had collapsed. Owen continued. If she tried to get out, they'll erase her. Or worse, make her disappear with you so it looks like you ran. I have proof now. I have a bag full of it. That doesn't make you safe. That makes you next. I hung up. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped the photo. The wind picked it up and pushed it under the passenger seat. And that's when I saw it. Tucked beneath the seat, as if planted there on purpose, another envelope. I hadn't seen it before. I opened it slowly. Inside, a passport. Not mine. Not hers. A new name. A new city. A one-way plane ticket to Vancouver under the name Erica Linton. Marlene had a way out. Planned. Funded. Alone. She was going to leave everything behind. Even me. Or maybe she already had. I didn't sleep that night, not even a second. The bag sat in the trunk of my car, covered with a tarp like a body. The recorder, the phone, the photo, all of it burned holes in my thoughts. I kept thinking about that voice on the recording. If he stays uninvolved, he stays alive. Too late for that now. By sunrise, I had a plan. Not a smart one. Not a brave one. Just the only one I could live with. I wasn't going to run. I wasn't going to let her vanish. I was going to find her. And I was going to give her the choice she thought she'd lost. It took me 2 days. The passport said Erica Linton with a departure from Milwaukee International Airport, 6:22 p.m. 3 days from the date I found it. But people who plan to vanish don't wait until their flight. They go to ground first. So I made calls, burned favors, reached out to a guy Owen knew who owed a debt for an old software scam they'd buried together. And finally, I found her. She was in a safe house disguised as a mid-range corporate rental, on the edge of a suburb I'd never heard of. One driveway, one car, curtains always closed. It was the kind of place that would look invisible if you weren't actively searching for it. I parked across the street for 6 hours before she stepped outside. She looked thinner, pale, hair in a tight bun, no makeup, the yellow dress replaced with black sweats and a hoodie. Her eyes scanned the street like she was still waiting for someone to drag her back. I walked up slowly. She saw me before I could speak, and froze. Duncan, my name on her lips again. This time, no lie behind it. Just a quake. A crack. I held up the bag. You dropped your secrets. She stared at it like it was poison. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. They'll. I don't care, I said. I'm not here to yell. I'm not here to beg. I'm here to give you what they never did. She blinked. What? A real choice. We didn't speak much after that. Not for hours. She let me in, locked the door behind me with shaking fingers. She told me everything, not in one breath, but over cups of instant soup, over silence, over hours where neither of us knew where to look. Yes, she'd been recruited. Not for sex, not exactly. For leverage. She was trained to be whatever powerful people needed her to be. A fake assistant. A listening ear. A silent party to a deal no one wanted recorded. And sometimes, yes, to become intimate if it sealed a contract or earned trust. She hated all of it. But she stayed because they promised her a clean exit once her quota was fulfilled. That exit, it turned out, was fake. She had learned too much. She'd become valuable. And no one lets valuable things go without locking them up or burning them down. I wanted to protect you, she said, not crying, just hollow. But I didn't know how to do both. You should have trusted me, I said. I didn't even trust myself. And then, quietly, I placed the bag on the table between us. I'm not here to save you, Marlene. But I'm not letting you be the only one who fights this. She looked at me, finally looked me in the eye. You still love me? She asked, barely audible. And I didn't answer with a speech. I just nodded. Once. It was enough. We didn't take the Vancouver flight. We took the recorder instead. We went to the one place that could hurt the people who hurt her, the Department of Internal Oversight. A quiet federal branch known only by people who needed them, used by ex-intel and whistleblowers who didn't trust standard agencies. We handed them everything. It took months, interviews, legal protection, anonymous statements. Marlene testified through encrypted lines. I was questioned twice about surveillance and consent, but in the end, it was enough. They cracked part of the network. Dozens of operatives pulled. 5 shell companies shut down. 1 handler arrested in Chicago. Marlene disappeared again, but this time, into witness protection. And I got a letter. 6 months later. Typed. And signed. But hers. I don't know where they're sending me. But they said I'd be safe. And that you would be too. I wanted to thank you for showing up when everyone else left. I still make soup the way you taught me. I still keep the photo of us in my bag. You were never the background. You were the anchor. I hope you find someone who sees that before it's too late. Or maybe, if life's strange enough, I'll find you again. And next time, I won't disappear. I promise. I kept the letter. Still do. As for me, I left the house, sold the car, moved north, changed jobs, grew a beard, which looks terrible, by the way. But I kept Baxter. He's slower now, but he still waits by the window. Sometimes, at night, I imagine her knocking on the door. Sometimes, I imagine it's over for good. But either way, I don't hate her anymore. She was never just the woman in the yellow dress. She was the woman who made a deal with the devil to keep me safe. And in the end, she won. So did I.